Breaking news, 10 pages, a political dust-up and a world of speculation now over. The Democratic rebuttal memo is out. This document is a bullet-by-bullet retort to the Nunes memo, which the president views as his vindication and proof that the Obama administration unfairly targeted him as a candidate. Our White House correspondent Boris Sanchez is standing by. We also have CNN Justice correspondent Evan Perez, who is pouring through the document. I want to first go to Boris, who is live at the White House right now. And Boris, as I understand it, you have a statement now from the White House about this memo. What can you share?
Hey there, Ryan. Yeah, we just got this from Sarah Sanders, the press secretary at the White House. She says that, quote, while the Democrats' memorandum attempts to undercut the president politically, the president supported its release in the interest of transparency. Nevertheless, this politically driven document fails to answer serious concerns raised by the majority's memorandum about the use of partisan opposition research from one candidate loaded with uncorroborated allegations as a basis to ask a court to approve surveillance of a former associate of another candidate at the height of a presidential campaign. She goes on to say that, as the majority's memorandum stated, the FISA judge was never informed that Hillary Clinton and the DNC funded the dossier that was a basis for the Department of Justice's FISA application. In addition, the minority's memo fails to even address the fact that a former deputy FBI director told the committee that had it not been for the dossier, no surveillance order would have been sought. As the president has long stated, neither he nor his campaign ever colluded with a foreign power during the 2016 election. Nothing in today's memo counters that fact. So the White House essentially sticking to their guns here, calling this a politically driven document, saying that it fails to answer questions about that salacious dossier, that it fails to state that according to the Nunes memo, the judge that approved FISA warrants on Carter Page was never informed that the basis for this investigation was that dossier. Further, that it was funded at one point by the Hillary Clinton campaign. She also calls out former Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe, saying that at one point he apparently told the committee that there would be no investigation without that dossier. So again, the White House is sticking to its guns, reiterating many of the points that we've already heard. Obviously, Democrats are going to argue, as they did in portions of this memo, that there was a sufficient basis to surveil Carter Page beyond that memo, and that this is, in fact, a contradiction of what Nunes wrote in his memo, and that it does not prove that President Trump is vindicated. So both sides going head to head here. Really no new clarity when it comes to which side will resonate more with the American people, and ultimately where this investigation, this Russia investigation, is headed next, Ryan.
Yes, and Boris, we should point out that Evan Perez, our Justice correspondent, Jim Sciutto, both of them pouring through this document to pull out some relevant facts for us. But I would say, in response to the White House's statement on this, saying that it doesn't address the political leanings of the groups that funded the Steele dossier, there is an entire section on page 5 of this memo that explicitly points out the DOJ's transparency about Christopher Steele, saying at one point the DOJ explained in detail Steele's prior relationship with and compensation from the FBI and the likely political motivations of those who hired Steele. So that is addressed. Whether or not the substance of that point is something that is credible is something that I guess will be left up to the eyes of the beholder, and it's something that Evan and Jim can give us more context on. But it is addressed. We should point that out. And I should also point out, Boris, that our Jeremy Herb, who is reporting on this from the congressional perspective, just sent us a statement from Adam Schiff, who is the author of this memo. It is a lengthy statement. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but I'll just point out these certain aspects of it. Schiff writes that the Democratic response memo released today should put to rest any concerns that the American people might have as to the conduct of the FBI, the Justice Department, and the FISC. And he also goes on to say that this document that we are releasing today is a product of a good faith negotiation between the minority, the FBI, and the DOJ. And this is interesting. He's attacking the White House because this is being released on a Saturday. He says it is unfortunate that the weekend release of the Democratic memo by the White House was delayed beyond what was necessary and to the advantage of those seeking to mislead the American public. So that's just a short bit of a lengthy statement from Adam Schiff, the ranking member on the House Intelligence Committee and the author of this rebuttal memo. I want to go now to Washington, actually just outside of Washington, the National Harbor there, where the annual CPAC conference is taking place, and our political reporter Rebecca Berg is standing by. Rebecca, Devin Nunes, who wrote the initial memo that led to this back and forth between Republicans and Democrats, just spoke at CPAC, and he had some pretty interesting things to say about the release of this Democratic rebuttal. What did he have to say?
That's right, Ryan. Well, in a bit of serendipitous timing, the House Intelligence Chairman Devin Nunes was on this stage right behind me as the Democratic rebuttal memo posted online. And take a listen now to what he had to say in response.
We actually wanted this out. So this has been held up for over 2 weeks. The FBI and DOJ had right away told the Democrats what was wrong with their memo or their response to our memo. And they waited for 2 weeks before they actually did the redactions that were necessary to get this out. We wanted it out. We want it out because we think it is clear evidence that the Democrats are not only trying to cover this up, but they're also colluding with parts of the government to help cover this up. And I think as you read it, you will see personal attacks on myself, personal attacks on Chairman Gowdy, with a lot of really interesting things that sound really bad, like a lot that has been happening with this Russia investigation over the course of the last year. But what you're not going to see is anything that actually rejects what was in our memo.
So there you have it, Ryan, the chairman's reaction in real time to the Democratic memo. I should note that there was no pushback from the crowd here at CPAC. This is a very friendly crowd. They greeted Nunes with very warmly, and in fact, he received an award on the stage shortly after his remarks. The organizers at CPAC praised him for his unwavering courage, his dogged pursuit of the truth on the Intelligence Committee. And Nunes also noted in his remarks that he is continuing with his angle of the investigation. Within the past few days, he and the Intelligence Committee distributed questionnaires to current and former administration officials from the Obama administration to now, asking them for details about the approval of the dossier, the funding for the dossier. So he is continuing on his track, even as he faces this pushback from Democrats now.